Hello everybody, I'm Cory Branson with the CiTR Sports Collective and Thunderbird Eye, accompanied by UBC Sports editor Miko Benrimo helping us with video. Today we are here to once again interview one of our own Thunderbird athletes. Today I'm joined by Jacob Patten, an ascending wide receiver for our UBC football team. In this his second year with the program, not only did Jacob lead all T-Birds in receiving yards and touchdowns, but he was fourth in Canada West in yards per game and led the conference in touchdowns through the regular season. He also had a penchant for some splash plays as well. Jacob, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, let's get right into it here. To get us started, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your athletic journey. I understand that along with football, you played soccer in high school back at Bishop Bryan Catholic in Hamilton. Were there other sports that you dabbled in back then, and what eventually led you to pursue football?
Actually, I started out in an early age playing soccer until high school, grade 9. I tried out for the football team. So that was actually the first sport I dabbled into other than soccer. And other than that, I played basketball as well. And soccer for me in high school was probably the biggest thing, and it looked like my future for a little bit because I was playing senior in grade 9. But later on I realized like football was my true love, and I just stuck with that and pursued it, and I ended up at UBC, which is huge, and I'm glad I can do what I can do for the team this year.
Yeah, we're happy that we have you here doing what you do for the team.
Yeah.
As we said, you had a fantastic season. Now, you were featured by Varsity Letters with Howard Samora back in September. I thought this was a really great profile of you. In that interview, you mentioned Stephon Diggs and Calvin Johnson as a couple of NFL role models for you. Looking instead at people you've worked with directly, did you have any coaches or veteran teammates that really helped you refine yourself as a football player?
Yeah, I did. I had two personal relationships with a couple players that left this year. One of them was Marcus Davis, who plays at the Ticats right now. Gave me some really good advice on just keeping my confidence and not worrying about what happened in the last play, but just focusing on the next play. And also Travell Pinto gave me a lot of good advice. Coach Taylor Nill, he's our receiver coach and our offensive coordinator. He gave me a lot of help over the summer as well, just perfecting my skill set, and we just moved forward from there.
So the numbers you put up this year were eye-catching on their own, but they pop even more when compared to what you did last year. In 2018, you had 13 catches, 170 yards, and no touchdowns, while in 2019, you hauled in 38 passes for 581 yards and 5 TDs. Great stat line. What do you think helped you transition so much as a player between year 1 and year 2?
I think the thing that helped me transition the most from year 1 to year 2 was my confidence. I just feel like I wasn't the most confident all the time, and building that over the summer was a big deal for me, just catching every ball I can possible, and just went from there.
Awesome. So we talked about the individual stats there, and those are interesting, of course, but there's no stat more telling than wins. The Thunderbirds finishing 2-6 didn't have the best season, and I'm not going to waste your time asking if you would have rather had more wins this season.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer, but I'm curious, how do you think you can elevate your game for next season to help this team win some more?
I think the biggest thing for me is to just focus on improving the people around me as best I can as a teammate, and just contributing to their successes as well. Me being a year 2 guy going into year 3, there's still a couple receivers that are older than me, but like I hope we can help each other out going forward.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And in kind of a follow-up to that, how do you think the team as a whole can improve, if you have any ideas?
Yeah, as a whole, I just feel like we were young this year, right? And we spiked at the wrong time. We started really connecting and clicking everything together come Game 5, Game 6. And that was the biggest thing for us. And our game against Sask was just probably our best performance this year. Right?
Yeah, well, I have a question about the game against Saskatchewan later on, because I really do want to get into that. But firstly, I do want to talk about what has been called the catch for a moment. For those folks who are unfamiliar, you made a circus grab back in Week 1 against Regina. Took all of 10 seconds for the Canada West commentators to draw Odell Beckham Jr. comparisons. In that Varsity Letters article that we talked about, you talked about the play at length, so we won't go into it too much. But my question for you, do you consider yourself that sort of flashy, big play, vertical threat as a receiver, or do you try to be the more dependable, move the chains kind of guy?
I think in high school I was more of the flashy guy. I just wanted to do as much as I could to get a first down. This year I feel like I'm more of a dependable player and more of a chain mover than I was in high school. But I also have that flashy threat to me as well, which I like to use.
Yeah. And I guess as more of a football philosophical question, do you think one style of receiving is better than the other?
Personally, to me, I think like the flashy, big, deep play threat guy is definitely better, just in my opinion, because it's more fun to play loose and just do what you want to do.
For sure. Yeah. If you can have a fun time out there, you're going to be making good plays.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tommy Yanchuk and Gabe Olivares, they both spent time this season as your starting quarterback.
Yep.
They're different players, they have different throws in their arsenal, but your production was pretty consistent no matter who was behind center. How was that adjustment for you, especially in games like the first one in Saskatchewan, where it was a different quarterback from drive to drive at some times?
Honestly, they both are hungry, young quarterbacks. They want to get the job done. They want to step in and show they can lead our team to a win, to a championship, and whatever else moving forward. And honestly, to compare them both, they both have their ups and their downs, but overall I feel like they both produce very well. So in my opinion, ball doesn't change. The throws are relatively similar, and I just keep going out there and I'll do whatever I got to do, whoever's at quarterback.
Yeah, awesome. It's a great mentality to have, I'm sure. Now, we talked about the Saskatchewan game. As a team and for you as a player, nothing stood out for you folks more this season than your home win. Against the Huskies, you had 204 yards receiving in that game. That was the most for a Thunderbird since your friend Travell Pinto. He had 244 against the Bisons. That was in 2016. It was also a quadruple overtime game. It's not really a fair comparison. In a non-overtime game, we can't even find the last time somebody had that many yards. The stats get really murky after about 10 years. So what prompted this sort of Herculean effort out of you?
Honestly, I was just playing with all my heart. I just didn't want to lose to Saskatchewan again. And I just put my body on the line every time I could. I tried my best to focus on every ball coming my way to make sure I could grab it. Doesn't matter if I thought I had to dive or not. But my main thing was just being in my zone and doing what I do best and beating the guy ahead of me.
Yeah, certainly worked out pretty well for you folks.
Yeah.
That was an awesome game to cover for me, and I'm sure it was an awesome game to play in for you folks.
Yeah.
I'd love to look towards the future for you. You'll still be with us here in Vancouver for a couple more years, we're hoping, and there's no rush to make a decision, but do you see yourself continuing to pursue football once you finish at UBC?
I do. My dream is to go pro, so I definitely looking to pursue football after university, yeah.
Awesome.
But I got to get my degree first.
That's very true. That's very true. Stay in school, kids. Alrighty, Jacob. Lastly, I do want to do a little bit of a fun activity with you. So, you were somewhat active on Twitter back in the summer of 2016.
Yes.
As part of my journalistic duty, I had to look back and see some of the things you tweeted. So I have a couple of sports takes that you have here. Just want to see what your reaction is to some of these 3 years later.
Yeah.
First one I have here, Bismack, spelled B-I-Z space M-A-C, is absolutely disrespecting that Fisher-Price net. This is, of course, referencing Bismack Biyombo.
Yeah.
Game 7. Conference semifinals, Raptors against the Heat. He had 16 rebounds in that game.
Oh, yeah.
You call it a Fisher-Price net.
Yeah.
Are you insinuating that this is some kind of Deflategate sort of situation? He changed the equipment being used in the game, and he was actually rebounding off a Fisher-Price net?
I was more leaning towards just the fact that he's treating it like it's a kid's game, you know, and like he was doing some pretty stellar stuff. So.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's all I got for that.
Okay, so no letter to Adam Silver on that one. Next one I have for you here, this is from June 22nd, 2016. You said, since when was Chief Keef producing music and playing Euro Cup football with Portugal? Did a bit of research here. I think you were talking about Renato Sanchez.
It was actually Adair from Portugal.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
So
now,
that was a cool time.
Was this a compliment for Adair?
It was honestly it was funny to me. Like, they just looked the same running on the field and stuff, so... they both got the dreads. Renato Sanchez he's got the dreads too. they both look like Chief Keef, but yeah, it was mainly about him. So.
All right, so not a diss at either Chief Keef
Oh,
or
no,
Adair.
no.
Okay,
No.
great. And the last one I have here, my personal favorite, this is from back in May 2016. You say, Channing Frye looked like the kind of dude to take his kid to the ballpark and just wet threes on him and go home. My last question for you, Jacob, what did Channing Frye ever do to you?
Oh, no, he didn't do nothing to me. I was actually watching the playoffs of the Cavs because I'm a huge Kyrie fan when they won the championship, and Channing Frye was just lights out, just not missing, and he just seems like the kind of guy to just go there and show his kids what's up, you know.
So no ill will towards Channing Frye?
No.
All right, we'll let him know.
Never harsh times.
All right. So that will wrap up our interview. Again, thank you so much for coming, Jacob. I know it's a busy time of year academically, so we really appreciate it. Thank you for being a good sport with that last little fun section there.
Yeah, of course, man. No problem.
Awesome. This has been Cory Branson with the CiTR Sports Collective and Thunderbird Eye. I was joined by Jacob Patten of the UBC Thunderbirds football team, also joined by Ubyssey sports editor Miko Benrimo. He was helping us with video, as I mentioned. That'll be all for us here, folks. Thank you all for listening.